little bit about intimidating books. Hello, what's up? I hope you're good and that you're ready to talk about all the intimidating books. I mean, not all of them. I actually asked you on Twitter to name a few that you were intimidated by. I wasn't thinking about filming a video, but then I was like, hey, maybe we could talk a little bit about it, because there is some kind of common theme regarding the intimidating books. And I feel like you and me are on the same page for some, but also have something I want to add to the list that you gave me in some way. So let's just started. So you mentioned anything Brandon Sanderson, whether it's that series, another series, the Stormlight Archive series, whatever. Also Robin Hobb was mentioned a few times. The series that is Wheel of Time, and also like long series. And I feel like that's something very common, is that we feel intimidated by series that are already out there and that have more than 3 books, or even 3 books, but chunky books, if we talk about the Final Empire, which is not only like it's a first trilogy, then there is a second series, I think it's 4 books, then 3 books, or I don't know, but there are so many books, and I feel you on that. It's so hard to just commit to an entire series and to just, you know, give yourself to start the book. You might enjoy it, then nice, you want to continue with it, but you have so many books. While you see all the new books coming out, and you see all the book clubs and the readathons and the read-alongs and whatever, and it is overwhelming. It really is. So I don't really have a tip here, but I just want to say maybe that yes, read-alongs are a good way to actually push yourself to actually start a series and continue with it. Or you can have a friend and do it privately, but also it's not because you start a series that you need to continue it right away. You can read the first book in January, then the next one in July, then the next one in December, and then the year after. It doesn't really matter. The series is already out there, so you can do whatever you fancy. You can read them all in one row, like in 1 week, if you're super strong and super motivated. You can do that. But there is no pressure for you to actually start a series and finish it right away. You can start and finish it whenever you want, even if it takes you 10 years. And I think that's something that we forgot. And same for like starting a book at the beginning of the month and finishing it by the end of the month. Who cares if you don't finish a book by the end of the month? No one. No one's gonna care. And you can, if you film wrap up, if you have a blog, if you have, you know, share your reviews online on whatever platform. If you're just a reader and you don't show everything you read online, who cares that you just like say, like let's say you film a video and you're just like, oh, this is the end of July, here is a book I started, I'm gonna finish it in August. Who cares? What's wrong with that? There is nothing wrong with that. So yeah, oh my gosh, this video is turning into tips or rant or whatever, I don't know, but yeah, you can start a series whenever. But there are series I'm intimidated by. I started this one. I don't know if I want to continue with it, because I was not impressed by the first one. I'm sorry if it's one of your favorites, but I want to continue because it's not bad. But I was intimidated by, because everyone was talking about it and everyone was raving about the books or whatever. But I read the first one and stopped. Will I continue the next one? Maybe soon, maybe never, maybe in 2 years. So for the Brandon Sanderson books, I have started, I mean, I finished all 3 here, but I need to continue with the series. I keep saying that I will. Will I continue with them? Yes, probably. But eventually, I don't know when. And who cares? Like, I'm gonna show you 3 series I'm actually intimidated by. Then we're gonna move to the second thing that comes and pops up very often. But there is this one, I want to read it. So the Miss Peregrine's, I don't know how you say that, Home for Peculiar Children. I want to read it because it sounds a bit creepy and interesting and everything I would love, but at the same time there are already so many books out there. It's a very, not very old series, but it is like not new, and a lot of people actually adored it and, you know, grew up with it, and I don't know, have high expectations whenever someone picks it up. So I'm a bit intimidated because it's been out there for quite some long time. That doesn't mean anything, but for quite some time, And I don't know, I feel intimidated by it, but I still want to really give it a try. Then of course, Name of the Wind, I have the sequel. I don't have the short stories. We're still waiting for the third one. I know by just mentioning it, I'm gonna hurt some hearts here. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I'm intimidated by it because it's been out there for a long time. A lot of people enjoyed it. And yeah, the size also. But also the fact that knowing that the last one is not out yet is a bit scary, because what if I get so involved in everything happening and then I wait 10 more years for the last one? I don't know if I'm ready to suffer that way. So Name of the Wind is also one that intimidates me, but also because of its size. Then we have this series that I have the first 2 books. I want to grab the rest of the series because I feel like I'm gonna want to just binge read them because they feel like something I would really enjoy, but also the size of them. And you know, I have not heard that many people talk about it, but I feel like I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna love it. Everything is... Oh, this one is floppy and this one is not. Why do they do that? So I talked about the size, and that's actually the second reason that you mentioned very often, is the size of the book. And I agree. How many times I was like, oh, it's 800 pages. I don't have time for that. I don't. It's scary. It happened so many times. And as you just see, like I mentioned a few books that are quite chunky books. And I feel like it's something very common on YouTube to be scared by the size of a book, but then we read 15 books of 350 pages, which means that we could read actually something of 800 pages. Also, you know that if you don't enjoy a book, you don't have to force yourself to finish it, unless you are an accomplisher and you need to push yourself to do it. But DNFing a book is also self-care and something you could do. The fact that you might not enjoy it and so you're gonna stop reading it, that is scary, or whatever, you know, DNFing it or whatever. I get it. But also, again, as I said the first time, you don't need to start a book and finish it the same month. So in case that's one of the reasons why you're scared to pick up a big book. Usually I do love big books because I really have the time to fall in love with all the characters, to get more about everything that's happening. But also usually I was about to say like bigger books are actually standalones, but that's not true. There are many big books that are standalones, like one that you mentioned, which is Priory of the Orange Tree, which now is gonna have a prequel. But that's very good. Like you said, it was intimidating, but I read it in no time because it's such an easy book to read. But the size, how many years have I said I'm not gonna pick it up because of the amount of pages? I don't need that in my life. I don't need that stress in my life. But I started it with the help of the winter pack, and I finished it in no time and found it pretty easy to read. Actually, it was like nothing very like fancy in the writing style or something very complicated and everything mismatched, whatever. No, it was very, very easy to follow and understand. So I would definitely recommend it. But you also mentioned other books that I felt intimidated by at one point. Empire of the Vampire is a beast. So yes, I get why you are intimidated by it, especially because this one, if I have to compare it to Priory, this one is a bit more difficult to read and to follow than Priory, in my opinion. Obviously, it's just my opinion. But I read it also in no time. So it just, the size doesn't mean that it's gonna take you a bit longer to read it, yes, because there are more pages. It doesn't mean that you're gonna struggle. The size doesn't mean that you're gonna struggle with the books. That's where I'm getting at. A lot of you actually mentioned To Sleep in a Sea of Stars and Dune for its size, but also because it's sci-fi. So third reason is actually sci-fi. So we can talk about them now, but it's like in the second category and third category, it's like sci-fi. Okay, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, it's not that I agree because I'm a sci-fi girl. I know I read more fantasy than sci-fi books, but I'm a sci-fi girl. I was not intimidated by this one because it was Christopher Paolini and I wanted to fall in love with another book that he has written. So I read it in less than 24 hours. Same for this one. I read them both in less than 24 hours. It is sci-fi, but it's not about the sci-fi. Yes, you have a first contact with something alien, but it's more about the self-discovery that the main character goes through. It's about knowing about yourself, knowing your limits, knowing what you ready to do, and do you decide to be selfish or to work for the rest of them, etc, etc. It's really more about that than sci-fi. There is a bit of sci-fi, obviously, because it's happening in space. It's about the first contact with something alien. That is not something that you would wish. It's in the book, I'm not gonna say more. It's the sci-fi that scares you. Give it a try. Honestly, give it a try, because sci-fi is not that scary. There are sci-fi that are scary, like Mars the Red. I would not recommend that series to anyone. It's Mars the Red, the Green, the Blue, because it's very sci-fi-ish, very sci-fi, very sci-fi. This one is huge. It's a classic. I was also intimidated by it because, not only because of its size, but because of the number of books, actually. So it could be like in the first category as well. I mean, this one could be in 3 categories, to be fair. But I read it in less than 24 hours. Yes, it's sci-fi, but it has also fantasy, and it's very political. I mean, if you're scared because of the sci-fi part, again, read it. It's the size that is scary, you have many characters, but also if you ever decide to pick it up, there is an like podcast on Spotify about 2 persons reading it. One of the person has read it for 100 times. The other one is reading it for the first time. And at the end of each chapter, they talk about the chapter. And it's so well done that if you feel like you're gonna be intimidated by it, read a chapter of that, listen to the podcast. I'm gonna try to link it down below if that's possible. But it's gonna really help you get more confident and understanding everything that's happening, and maybe reading between the lines, because they're really good at kind of making you understand what you have read without telling you, you know, without sharing any spoilers. They're really good at that. So of course it's gonna be like some things that you might not understand right away, but if you reread a chapter, you'll be like, oh, okay, okay, makes sense. So yeah. And fourth, I would say, is usually something that is scary to you. Whether it is a book that has tiny font, whether it's a classic like Les Miserables, whether it's something that is very specific to what makes you not pick up a book right away. So these are the 4 points that I gathered from everything you have said. So the first one was long series, the second one was like chunky books, and the third one was like sci-fi-ish, if I'm right with all the categories, and the fourth one, something that is specific to your taste. And because like someone mentioned, books I had never heard of, this is Your Brain on Music, or How a Decade of Financial Crisis Changed the World, which are, in my opinion, heavy topics. I don't know what the books are exactly, but I feel like it's something heavier than a light fantasy or rom-com or whatever. Do you say rom-com for a book? Romance-ish, anything. So I feel like that's it for this video. It's a very short one. If you have something specific you would like me to talk about, or maybe to research something, or to ask the community or whatever, just let me know. But these are just things like the camera died just before, the battery died just before I filmed that outro. I'm sorry, it's very rude. The camera just cut us off. I'm sorry, that was rude. But I was saying that basically if you are intimidated by a book, whatever the reason, try to just understand that reason and to work around. If it's the size, you don't need to finish it. You can just split the book in different parts and have different goals, like 10 book pages like a day or whatever. If it's the fact that it's a long series, maybe find someone to read it with, or just don't decide to start and finish the book, the series in the same year. It doesn't really matter. If it's the fact that it is sci-fi, maybe ask someone who has read them how sci-fi-ish it is, because you can maybe have some more recommendations about like mild sci-fi and then move on towards something very sci-fi if that's what you want to do and want to try. If it's something other than what we have mentioned, maybe ask someone who has read them if they could like summarize the book in a few lines or whatever, so you can actually get the vibe of it, to get to understand if it's something for you or not. All these advice are something that I just thought I would share. It doesn't really change anything. It doesn't give you like a wow factor, like, oh wow, I'm gonna do it now. No, it's just that you're not alone feeling that way. So many of us are feeling that way, and sometimes it does not make any sense. And also very often it's a pressure that we put ourselves, on our shoulders, ourselves, and it's useless. We don't have to do that. But yeah, let me know if you appreciate this video. I thought it was a cute idea to just talk about that, but yeah, let me know. But yeah, well, Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to be a part of the pack. Talk to me in the comment section as usual. And until next time, take care, wolves. Bye.